What is up, traders? Welcome back. Today we are trading Tesla, and overall the market has been pretty strong. If you guys haven't realized yet, if you take a little look at the overall triple Qs, it is absolutely bullish. We are above VWAP, above the 50 EMA, and we're also seeing a very strong momentum here with the RSI. As you guys know, it's the relative strength index, and manages overall allows you guys to see how much strength is present here within a trend. So as you guys can see, we're above the pretty much the 50, or this EMA here, the 14 here, going above. We're also above quite a lot of resistance areas. We were previously below these areas, kind of signify the downward trend that we had previously on Friday, but now it's reversed that. And the overall triple Q is seeing bullish momentum, and in this case we only like to see higher highs, higher lows forming, and possibly buying here these dips, because obviously there's relative strength in the market. I was looking at Palantir. As you guys can see, we may have an area of a buy here around this area if it holds above this 50 here on the RSI, and probably find support here. We may find that upper momentum that we need. It was relatively strong on the day here on the open. Kind of had a little bit of a overbought signal here, kind of flash. It's pulling back, but I believe it's it's strong on the day. It should be, as long as the triple Q keeps increasing and rising up. The world market is strong, then we should be looking overall to get long here on Palantir as well. To match that overall strength that we're seeing. It's pulling back. Yeah, but it's quite strong. Let's check the majority. Let's see, Netflix. I think that one's pulling back a little bit. Yeah, it's having a kind of a downward day. As you guys can see, we're below the 50, basically like the midpoint of the RSI, showing that there's not a lot of strength on the name. We may keep declining. We're also below the 50 MA, below the VWAP. So yeah, average participant here is actually making money on the long side, and we may pull back, find support all the way down here. That's the only way I see support, all the way towards that downside. As well, IBIT's been pretty strong on the day. Overall, Bitcoin has been nothing but increasing, as you guys can see. So what I'm saying, the relative strength is towards the upside. We're above this key EMA, above the midpoint 50 of the RSI. Also on the chart, we're above the 50. We haven't even pulled back to it at all, not even once. It signifies the intense strength that there's been pretty much in the name. And additionally from that, we're also above VWAP and key areas of resistance, which was this prior area here, this 60 flat level. And Bitcoin's just been really bullish, right? If we look at the overall actual asset, it's been going up, right? But if we look at it on a daily chart, it's kind of excluding the RSI. We bounced this initial level here off the 50 MA. We had a nice momentum upward. We kind of pulled back, and we found again buyers at the 50 MA, and it formed a higher low, basically signifying more of an intense upward momentum here within overall Bitcoin. I think we're picking up some steam. If you plot a little VWAP here from this high, we're above it so far. I like to see maybe a couple candles hold and get back above this $109 level, which was prior area of resistance, and I think we can clear that, and price target for Bitcoin fully. I still believe we have chance to achieve that $130,000 level on Bitcoin. The fundamentals are adding up as well, and it came back to a key area of Fibonacci, that, and also the flat $100,000 level, which was resistance for quite some time here previously on Bitcoin. And now that we had this nice leg up, we kind of need some time, I'd say, to kind of digest this nice move that we had, and just correct through time, have some pullbacks, but buyers slowly becoming a little bit more aggressive, and we want to see that showing strong momentum towards the upside there. Let's see, Palantir. Let's see. So I said we may be finding some support here. I really like that wick, that candlestick that's forming right now on Palantir, you know, showing that there's some buyers present. We're also coming at an area where we may find support here on the RSI, and also as well the 50. So there's a lot of areas here. I guess this zone here is kind of like a confluent zone, so there may be some buyers present on that name. We'll just have to see and wait. That's looking really bullish right there. Name has been really strong, and I know you guys commented, is AMD. This is looking absolutely bullish. Intense name, like I said, you know, no pullbacks to VWAP at all. It was the only pullback was around the open, 5 minutes after the open. It's been intense, you know, like I said, you know, it's, you know, been above this 50 RSI value. It's above this EMA, you know, relative strength is pretty strong. It's kind of showing a little bit of signs here of overbought, you know, maybe getting a little bit overextended, and is maybe due to a pullback, but I don't see that, you know, a potential reversal, right? It's strong on the day, maybe pull back, find support here, and kind of, you know, catch some liquidity here, trying to, you know, fake some people out. Maybe people thinking that's a short, you know, continuation, maybe fake some people out here, capture the liquidity, like I said, you know, and just, you know, keep going higher, right? But it's, you know, kind of showing a little bit of signs here of overextension, although we shouldn't, you know, be two-phased, you know, that's going to be a reversal or anything like that. We're looking here, as long as we're above this, we should be looking for long entries, you know, not any type of reversal here, as we are trying to go with the trend, and the trend here is the friend, and today the trend on AMD is towards the upside. If you look at this on a little bit of a longer term time from here, like on 15 EMA, still nice bullish momentum. Went above this area of resistance here that we had of a 120 flat, and we're above that decisively. Had some trouble getting above that on the daily, and I believe that, you know, AMD setting up now. You know, it's getting above the swing high anchored VWAP, and what I mean from that is basically this high, basically. Now we're seeing, you know, intense bullish momentum. So I'm expecting, you know, some continued momentum here, and you know, the next price target here on AMD, it's going to continue going to the upside. It's going to be towards 150. If this does close on the day, holds, and also as well, we're not only breaking above the swing high anchored VWAP, but so far we're also forming a higher high, right? We're breaking above this area here, this high, right? So we formed a higher low, right, and then another higher low, and it's like we're forming the higher high. So it's showing that the trend has been, you know, pretty strong ever since this bounce that we had here on April, mid of April, and the majority of stocks had this movement, but, you know, AMD's, you know, kind of been the underdog. It's been behind Nvidia, but now, you know, I believe it's going to be second to Nvidia, obviously, you know, and just funds are trying to buy this, and pretty much, you know, Nvidia's been pretty overextended, pretty strong name there. But yeah, for example, just look at if we look at our overall Nvidia chart here, we see, you know, it's moving up, right? But we're seeing that you know, it's a little bit overextended, right? You know, so that's why they're buying AMD, you know, to hopefully, you know, kind of get a discount, right? Because, you know, the AI and all this, you know, revolution that we're seeing, you know, it's real, right? The fundamentals are backing it up, numbers are backing it up. There's more demand, you know, as well as other countries are trying to build the overall sovereign AI. We're going to be seeing, you know, a lot of chips benefiting from that. The primary are going to be Nvidia, and second to that, it's going to be AMD. So that's why you're seeing it being bought up, right? I'm pulling back to a 5 minute. Yeah, Nvidia is really strong on the day. Really strong. Like I said, it's above the midpoint, all these major areas of resistance quite well. Really strong name. Now it's pumping. It's finding some resistance at this pivot point there, that R3, but we shouldn't be too worried about that. The overall trend is towards upside. If we do see pullbacks, honestly, we may find support here at the intraday VWAP. Just a matter of time. Looking at Palantir again. Yes, we're trying to base out here, and it's like we're trying to, you know, find some support here. We're kind of dipping a little bit below here the RSI, but where I believe we'll see this like a curl, and also we'll see that curl in the price action with the 50 MA still rising. So there's a pretty much we should be looking for long entries here, I believe, here on Palantir, because relatively it's pretty strong, alongside the overall market, right? We just don't want to go against the market and decide that it's bearish, right? It's not. So it's bullish on the day, right? And say if any shorts are in this name, so they're gonna start to get out, because they see these areas of support here, and we look at the RSI kind of spiking up here, the relative strength. Looking at Tesla, how's it doing? Yeah, it's not so strong. It's kind of surprising, not as strong as the overall market. These other names, the triple Q being up, it's kind of, I'd say, yeah, in a range, right? It's in a range, but we had this low form. We found support at the 50, but we also had support at the 50 around, kind of around this area. We didn't touch it exactly, but I like how we're forming a higher low here, right? So this low is here, and this low is higher than this low. So it's showing that there's buyers present, right? Just a matter of time to see is it gonna hold? Is it gonna hold up a VWAP, which it is right now so far? Are we gonna firmly break and reach this pivot point, this $334 level, which I have to see and wait, right? But Tesla there's underlying strength, but it's been pretty tough to trade here on the day, because it's in a range. Basically, it's waking up and down, and although it is finding support here at the 50 MA, right? So we just have to see that. Let's see. Yeah, overall looks like it's having some trouble generally, and compare this price action to the overall NASDAQ, right? It's just like it's an underperformer. Basically, NASDAQ, it's up I think a little bit more than 1%, and I know 0.5%. Let's see if you measure this move from the open. Yeah, we're up around close to 1% here on the overall NASDAQ, and it's just looking up, right? Just really strong momentum. This was a nice pullback towards this prior area of resistance that we broke, pulled back, tested it. It looks like we're finding some support, and we're going towards 536, which is the next area where we may find some resistance here around 536. And analyzing this price action, would have been pretty obvious that today was going to be a long, right? Because we were kind of getting signals here on Friday that the overall market was being a little bit oversold, right? We were kind of getting these alerts, oversold levels, because pretty much a lot of selling, and it was kind of time for a little bit of a bounce. We're also we made an important high here, and we got above it here on the overall. We opened above it, so that's pretty strong, shows bullish momentum. We're above the 50 MA. But apart from that, we can kind of measure the volume here. Where's some decisive liquidity levels, right? So using that, pretty much was a lot of liquidity at around this low here, around 526, and right now we're having some trouble clearing above. That's why we kind of had this little wick kind of consolidation area around these levels of 534, 535, because we have a pull here, you can say, of liquidity. You guys see this volume here, pretty much this little zone. That's why it's been kind of hard to get above, but it looks like we're breaking through that area. And yeah, I don't find any resistance all the way here until 536, just showing that strong momentum. We can also look at the overall SPY. It's going to be looking the same, obviously. Yeah, really strong momentum. I like that. Very, very strong. Very, very, very strong name. Let's see. I want to see if you have any type of momentum here. Let's take a little look at the overall rundown for today. So let's see the rundown. June 16th, like I said, this is always given before the market opens, so you guys are always informed ahead of the price action. And before the market opens, any news, tickers are in play, and also some earnings potential that may affect the market. And even with the Trump administration, any events that may affect the market. Currently, just all you have to do is go to Uplift Markets. Link is in the description, and just sign up free. It's only for members. Just sign up. It's absolutely free. You get this access every single day before the market opens. And as you can see, Tesla was leading a little bit in the pre-market as the markets were rebounding, right? Oil kind of slides a little bit, and we also have to factor in the Fed decision that will be taking place on Wednesday. So we kind of have to take a little bit of a factor on that. Overall economic data that came in today, not too important. We pretty much only had here the New York, let's see if I get this, the New York Empire State Manufacturing Index. Here you guys can see that it's a little bit small, but it's not really too important. We had a bill auction here, the 3-month, kind of getting a little bit of a gauge on the overall percentage. Not too important. The market didn't really factor that in, but we are getting more more important numbers over the next coming days here on this week. For example, if I just pull this up a little bit of the economic calendar and get a little bit more of an insight, we see this, for example, right? So tomorrow on Tuesday, here June 17, we have retail sales month over month, so that's going to be really important. Kind of see how overall retail is going, if the consumer is spending, right? Kind of give us a little bit of an insight on the economy here. So the forecast is going to be negative retail sales because we're kind of expecting, I guess, a little bit of a slowdown here in the economy, and we have to see, what comes out of that. Export prices month over month, I don't believe is too important. Usually, what's highlighted is what's more important, and what the factor, I guess, what the market's kind of factoring in as the most important or impactful that they're going to be looking out for. I don't know, retail sales year over year is going to be important to see that, because we can't just consider ourselves, analyzing the shorter term trends. We're going to look at the longer term trends and, see how the consumer has been over the past couple of months, pretty much the whole year. And also expected to be lower because of slower growth here. But yeah, it's going to be important, pretty much these two numbers, I'd say, the retail sales month over month and retail sales year over year. Those two, I believe, are going to be really important to see kind of, if there's been an impact, a little slowdown here in the consumer spending, and if these Trump tariffs as well have, are finally, seeing if there's an impact because of those tariffs, right? We'll have to see. On Wednesday, we're getting housing starts. Not really important, honestly. Get a little bit of the mortgage rate. This is important. We get jobless claims, initial jobless claims. We get the 4-week average. This is important. So this number here, the 4 weeks average and the initial jobless claims, are going to be important to kind of factor in for the trading day. And yeah, also the Fed FOMC here decision, very, very important. It's very projected that they'll keep the rate steady. They keep them the same, although there's been pressure from the administration to cut down rates, right? To kind of, pursue, right? To increase overall economic spending, but it's a little bit too early to say that right now. There's more of expectation, though, of a rate cut here on September. A little bit of a higher likelihood that there'll be some type of action on the rates here for September. But right now, it's expected. Most participants expect, keeping it flat, basically. So it's going to be really important to see. So Tuesday, tomorrow, and Wednesday, so upcoming 2 days, we're going to be seeing very important numbers that are going to be important to look out for, and hopefully are not going to impact the market too much towards the downside, because we do expect some further upside continuation and have the market kind of challenge the highs that we're having a little bit of trouble getting towards, right? Additionally from that, the futures were up pretty good on the pre-market. We had the Dow futures up a little bit, around 0.4, 0.5%. The overall S&P 500 as well, and the Nasdaq a little bit higher, driven by tech. Global tensions have cooled. I guess that's what markets are kind of rebounding, right? Because pretty much sparked by the unfortunate Israeli airstrikes on Iran. President Trump has hinted at the potential peace, saying that sometimes you just have to fight it out, which helped ease investor nerves. Commodities were also on watch. We had crude oil going back below $72, which is pretty good, showing kind of decreasing the volatility, decreasing fear. Gold also pulling back, right? Because we saw gold having nice rallies on Friday. Due to the risk on, pretty much the risk that was being perceived here by investors, and kind of flocking. Money was flocking into gold. Overall, economic events that we have today was not really too important. But Wednesday, like I said, we do have the rate decision, which is very important, and rates, like I previously said, are expected to hold flat, right? Some trending here. U.S. Steel was up 5%, amazingly, after Trump approved Nippon Steel $14.9 billion deal. It's really, really good. Tesla was rebounding 1%, showing strong. Here, there's a little interactive chart here on the daily here for Tesla. And, it's looking pretty good, right? We had a strong downward move, right? We kind of flattened out here, found a bottom at 213. We had that, big sell-off off the little Elon Musk and Trump feud. But, we're kind of rebounding, we're finally above that. So, we recuperated those losses, you could say. And, with the robotaxi, set to unveil on June 22nd, it's going to be really important for investors. And, seeing what Tesla has to offer here for the future, of AI and expansion and also robotics, which I believe is going to be an important factor. And maybe, we'll see some rally here over the next couple of days as investors buy into the news and probably sell the news, right? So probably buy the rumor, sell the news, right? And pretty good chart here. Interactive, you guys can use it all the time. It's included here within the newsletter. And some final thoughts. Basically, geopolitical risks are so far, just for today, they've eased down, and attention is now shifting a little bit here so far towards the Fed's upcoming policy decision, which is on Wednesday, and is going to be really widely looked at. Now with the fear of possibly, though there's always been the fear of the recession, right? The tariff impacts, but these numbers been coming in, and we haven't seen any impact from these tariffs at all so far. Maybe a little bit early to say so, but it's been pretty good for the market, and the consumer is looking strong so far. So hopefully we'll see that for the future. Right here. Now going back to let's see, the SPY kind of pulling back here. Overall, the market's kind of pulling back. Find some resistance here. See if that's the same thing with the triple Qs. Finding a little bit of a pullback here, but there's relative strength. There's momentum here towards the upside. See how Palantir is doing. It found that support. See, like I said, so it found a little bit of support there. Right, there was an area confluence zone here approaching the 50, and this 50 level here on RSI, and shooting up. So you kind of want to be looking for longs here. I like to be fully long if we get above VWAP, a nice break, try to challenge price target towards 147. Probably that's the next area of resistance where we may find some supply. But right now we're above the 50 EMA on the chart. We're a little bit below VWAP so far, but we're above these key metrics so far. It's looking pretty good here on Palantir. Going back to Tesla, it's having a little bit of trouble here with its footing. So it's still within a range, right? It's having maybe some time projecting upwards. Find that strength. That's why the strength has been kind of wicking right here. Hasn't been able to find its footing yet. So we'll have to see. We're still rising though. 50 EMA is still below the price action. We're still above the 50 EMA, so that's quite nice to see so far here. You may have to transition here towards Palantir, possibly looking for a trade here. IBIT still strong. Pulling back now, but we may find support, like I said, at VWAP and this previous area of resistance, which was the 50 EMA pretty much, right? So I'd like to see that hold right here, that $60 level, which was a prior area of resistance, and also forming some confluence here with the 50 EMA, which is quite nice to see that. AMD, let's see the strongest of the overall here. Markets, yeah, just strong, man. No pullback at all. This thing just has pullbacks. They get bought up immediately, and yeah, very strong momentum. No opportunity for buys here, honestly. You can buy here on the pullbacks, but yeah, probably it won't allow buyers to get a price here cheaper than VWAP, right? Probably won't allow it to bring it down heavy, but yeah, really strong name. I mean, compare that to Tesla, right? It hasn't moved at all. It's been pretty flat here on the day. So let's go to Palantir here, and yeah, it's looking good. Found support here. It's still above this area, above the 50 value here. Kind of found support at this little EMA, and we're seeing the relative strength kind of pick up. It was a lot of strength, but the strength kind of cooled down. That's what it's measuring basically. And we're finally seeing a little bit of a pop here. So quite interesting. It was around this area also, around 141, which is an important level here for Palantir, and it's been looking really good on the daily. I'm not going to lie, I think it's achieved all-time highs now, and we have a price target on AMD around 156. Let's see. Yeah, the fundamentals do add up. Let's see. No, actually 163. That's our price target for Palantir. 163 overall. I mean, I'm really bullish on this thing, right? I've been bullish. As overall, the United States has been getting a little bit more defensive. There's been an increase in. Right now, so far, it's expected to have an increase in the defense budget. It's approximately, it's a big increase, but there's a lot of analysts saying that it may not be the best, but who cares about the analysts, right? The stock is doing good, and there's a lot of contracts that are given to Palantir, and it's a pretty good company. It's got nice fundamentals. Solid. The price action is now reflecting that, and yeah, when the fundamentals and the overall technicals match, it's a good combo here. So yeah, I see the next area of resistance all the way to 163. I think Palantir is going to keep going higher and higher and higher as long as the triple Qs and overall Nasdaq keeps going higher. Yeah, so bullish. I'm really bullish. Don't see any resistance at all, and I believe we'll keep going higher. So it's going to be a nice swing trade towards there. Really nice, really nice. Also, name that's been pretty strong on the overall daily has been DoorDash. Really strong name. It's been increasing here. It's above. When it got above the swing high, Anchored VWAP around this area, that was just pretty much easy buy. Also as well, a break of maybe the 200. Really strong. We never fell below it. We held above the 50 EMA as well, and right here was a very nice area of support. So really strong name. Oracle though as well on cloud, they had very strong earnings here, above the 50, above the swing low Anchored VWAP. Earnings, they did pretty good. They projected a lot of future revenue growth there for Oracle. I think they also projected around a 78% revenue over the next couple of years. And investors, they like that. They like seeing the future. The past, they do care pretty much how the overall stock did on the past quarter. That's why earnings, but primarily you want to look at the future, right? What's the expected? What does the company see, right? Especially the tone of the CEO. So the earnings calls are really important. Kind of gauge if there's a little bit of nervousness, a little bit less of demand here, or if there's a lot of confidence within the CEO, and just gives a a better feel for investors, right? I think they're also now offering a little bit more. I think they raised their dividend. I'm not too sure, but yeah, really strong name. one of the key players here in cloud, alongside Microsoft. Having Azure, really strong name. Let's see Datadog. What it does, but it's kind of easy. I need to break out. I'd say above 125, and Datadog is gonna shoot towards the upside. Really bullish name. I did a very nice thesis on it, a video. Watch it here on the channel. It's been just a nice move towards the upside, and as cloud and increases, and AI, they need to be trained, right? There needs to be that cluster, and cloud will only see a lot of future growth here, as overall AI demand soars, right? All these models coming out. Obviously we have ChatGPT, by OpenAI, but Gemini is getting pretty good now. The new model 2.5, and I believe with also that little offer that they have for students, it's picking up the demand, right? I think it's for free all the way to 2026 for students. So if you are a student, get that discount. It's pretty good. And I think that was a very nice play from them, to increase their demand, and have a little bit more of an edge compared to OpenAI, and ChatGPT. And we can see that, right? OpenAI has been a leader pretty much right now in the market share, and we can see that reflected on Microsoft chart, achieving all-time highs. They've had a heavily investment in OpenAI, and the stock is just benefiting from that. And it's a key player also as well. Microsoft is really strong. That key initiative that they had, that spending, I guess, investment in OpenAI as well, and also Azure. I'm seeing amazing growth compared to, let's say, Google, and which is a competitor, and also a little bit of other cloud names as well. I think it had a little bit more demand than AWS, but AWS is so strong. I have a nice, expected growth rate for AWS here for the future revenues of Amazon, right? It's the future. They have to invest, obviously, heavily in AWS, So, really bullish on that. Let's see, going back to, let's see how Amazon's doing actually. Yeah, really bullish on the day. Wow, very nice opportunity to buy. Pulled back towards below VWAP, give you that nice curl, and that nice bullish crossover right here. Amazing setup right there. And yeah, found resistance here, went through that, and it's now finding resistance at the next pivot point. So R2, we may pull back, have maybe a little bit of a deeper pullback, and find support somewhere around here, or maybe pull back deeper towards VWAP. Let's see that. See Tesla. Yeah, it's lacking the strength. It's very surprising. I thought it would be stronger on the day, but looks like it's not. It's like it's having some trouble. See Palantir rebounding, having a little bit of trouble getting above VWAP here. But yeah, we might have to transition over here to VWAP, and looking at Palantir a little bit closely, because I like this bullish momentum that we still have. We're still above this 50 right here line, basically RSI, and the strength is kind of moving towards upside, kind of shifting. Should have to see if this isn't just a lower high, and we decline. Hopefully not. Market's still up, although it is pulling back a little bit, but we shouldn't really take that into account. Not too much of a factor. I think we're opening pretty strong here. Overall here on the markets, which I like, looking quite well. Also, if you haven't subscribed, feel free to subscribe to the channel and give it a thumbs up and a like. As you're seeing that nice momentum picking up right here. I'm liking that. I'm going to duplicate this tab. A bit of troubles here. Yeah, overall, I'm liking Palantir's looking here on this 5 minute. I think it has a lot of room to run. There's a lot of pretty much just relative strength here. It's picking up. If actually found support there, like I said, and I mean, compare that to Tesla, right? It has moved, and we can project as well. The upside. How much upside can there possibly be? And that will be having to do with here the pivot points, right? So the next area of resistance looks like it's towards 146. If we do, get above VWAP here, see a nice momentum. Right, the RSI is increasing. We did not have a bearish cross down, right? We kind of looks like we were seeing a bearish cross down here, right? But we didn't, right? We found support exactly there. So just gives you an idea of how much the buyers are into this name, right? They really want to, pick it up and buy it, right? So supply is slowly getting diminished. Demand is coming in here. All we have to do is get above VWAP decisively, and it's going to be an absolute amazing long. Let's see. Yeah, we may have to play this with some options here. Intraday options. I think you can probably go for the closest expiration date. And probably play a 141 long call here on Palantir strike price. Let's see, 140, probably 141, and try to hold that throughout the day. That's probably what I'm gonna do here. Let's see. Yeah, contract size depends on that, and the risk. Yeah, I'm really liking the strength. It's picking up. Really liking that. Like I said, there's underlying strength in this asset. We're above the 50. Why shouldn't buyers be there? Right? Let's see. I'm really liking this name. Really liking this name compared to Tesla, which is not really doing anything here intraday. The strength isn't exact. You can't decipher pretty much the trend here. There is underlying buying here on Tesla, but it's within a range, so it's kind of not allowing us take advantage of the moves, the trend, right? Because the trend is our friend, and we want to identify that to be alongside the winning side, whether it be the buyers or sellers. And in this case, here on Palantir, it is the buyers, right? We're above the 50 MA. This relative strength is increasing, showing that there's momentum and there's buyers present in the name. There's a question. Now we may want to see, where will we find maybe some liquidity, maybe some, I guess, some supply, and I don't believe we'll find any until we reach those highs there of a 147. Right there. That's what probably have to do this. Let's see. Yeah, the nearest expiration here on the calls, I'm checking the options chain, on Palantir. Yeah, it looks like it's June 20th here, so within 4 days from now, expected expiration. And they're cheaper, right? The closer expiration. Also, we have, data's against us, right? But we're not gonna hold this no more than today. A lot of implied volatility. The volume today so far has been around 594,000 contracts. Let's see, implied volatility percentile 35%. Shoot. Check here. Yeah, we'll do that. Yeah, let me know. Let me know down in the comments if you guys are looking at any names. What are you guys trading? Feel free to drop that in the comment section. I'm still holding above the 50. So I'm really liking the strength here that we're seeing here on Palantir, right? Compared to Tesla, like I said, it's not really doing too much, right? It's finally pulling back. We see I'm expecting, the overall Nasdaq to be recuperating here. Check that out. And yeah, okay, so it's pulling back a little bit here, but may find support around this area 53, and it's kind of forming confluence here with the intraday VWAP here on the triple Q. Yeah, still pretty bullish on that. I don't think there's any news that really may impact the market right now throughout the day. President Trump is expected to be meeting up with the president of Mexico and also the prime minister of Canada. I think today, I'm gonna actually double check whether it's a little bit later in the day or it's actually going on right now, because maybe there may be the media asking him a little bit more about tariffs, which may be market moving, so you kind of do want to factor that in here. But yeah, we're pulling back on the triple Q. Palantir, let's see what it's doing. Yeah, it's kind of moving up now. Yeah, so let's see. On the headlines, it's not too bad though. We do Bitcoin rebounding off the 50 MA back to 106. Markets rebounding as Israel-Iran tensions cool so far, which is pretty good to see. And Tesla gains ahead of Robotaxi reveal. Yeah, I believe we're seeing overall some buyers picking up the price ahead of the ahead of the reveal, and probably see a sell off. I'm not saying it's gonna crash or anything, but little profit taking on that day, unless the news are really, 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 really bullish for the stock, then probably have that continuation, right? But I don't think we'll sell off before the Robotaxi reveal. I think there's going to be some buying ahead of the news, and then probably selling the news after that. Yeah, not bad, not bad. Let's see. Fix myself here. Sure. Yeah, so if we take a little closer look here, right, VWAP's right there, right? And we see this little wick forming under the price action right now, the candle, showing that there's some buyers picking up the price right now so far, and so I see some relative strength. Let's see if this holds. To give it time. We don't really know if a level's support or resistance until after the fact, right? You can't just see an area support and you say, oh, I'm gonna buy on the touch of it or just because it gets near it, right? You want to see if there's momentum after that. For example, here could have been a good buy, right? You could have been like, okay, would have seen this candle develop, and you would have been like, okay, maybe this is the buy, right? But maybe it would have been a fake out towards the downside. So you kind of want to be patient and wait and see, there's strength after the support, which would be this candle right here. Says the 142 upside break. That would have been a long here if you would have decided to go long at the sight of seeing this candlestick forming. Really intense buying picking up right there. That's what this represents. A lot of buying coming in, right? And the volume was not that bad too, right? So not too bad. Triple Qs, yeah, pulling back, but now finding, see, like I said, some buyers there. See that candlestick, like that, right there. We may be in the need of more demand here at lower prices to achieve that ultimate level that the overall market can achieve, the $536 level. So the next area of resistance here based off pivot points. But yeah, it's like we're finding some demand here. It's like I always think of it like a trampoline, right? We had a little, for example, right? We had a it's like the VWAP's like the trampoline, right? Or any other support level, right? We came back, found some buyers at that area, right? We come up, but eventually we have to fall, back down, right, to find more, right? And if we want to achieve these highs, I guess, right, and we bounce off, and then we need to come back, bounce off of that level, try to go towards those highs up there, right? So just because we see a pullback like this doesn't immediately mean reversal. We're still above VWAP. The average participant is long, so most likely here, based on this intraday trend, they're most likely, and let's say they're most likely to defend their prices. So there'd be demand there, making sure that the price action doesn't fall below, initiate the downward trend, because now they would lose money, right? So they got to defend their level by adding demand there, by adding taking over the supply. Not bad, not bad. And if it does decide to, pull back a little bit heavy, then I'm pretty certain we'll find some buyers picking up the price here around this EMA, the 50 EMA, pretty much. So there's underlying strength pretty much in this asset overall. Looks like something got in my eye. Okay, not bad. Still, fighting above that. See how Tesla's doing on the day. Yeah, there's buyers here. So there's underlying strength. Yeah, there's been some picking up here, although it is flat. Kind of difficult to trade. We've been staying above the RSI 50 so far, right here. So generally, when that does happen as well, we do want to kind of tend to be bullish, right? Because generally there's buyers in control. We can go short, but ideally the odds aren't in our favor. The probabilities of that trade going profitable, or seeing a move towards an area of support, kind of shorting towards support, it's very, very low. Very, very unlikely, although it is possible, but a smaller percentage, right? So with the percentages being in favor of being towards alongside, we ideally and also being above the 50 here, we want to be generally towards alongside in this case, as there's buyers, and generally they are in the trend, right? So you probably could have been short here maybe if you wanted to go against this, right? But buyers immediately came back up, and if you're still holding, maybe you're half, you're pretty much losing money, right? You're half in the money. It's now coming back towards your position. May get stop lost, right? May have your stop loss triggered. Yeah, I mean, what I'm really liking here on Tesla, even though it's kind of flat, having some trouble getting above, you could say this range between 331 and 328. So this little $3 range that has been trading throughout the day so far, up to now, basically, is that we're seeing, right? We're obviously above here the 50 value here, right? So we should kind of be looking long, but also I'm liking, as you guys can see, that this EMA is slowly starting to curl, and I believe it's curling towards the upside, right? So starting to see this little curl, and if we don't see that nice momentum rise, the slope of it rise, and it's gonna give us more confidence, I guess, and confidence in that the trend is overall favored here by the buyers, but we will have to see this the more development, right? Because time is probably one of the best also indicators, right? Because you have a level, if it doesn't hold for a certain amount of candles above a level, or if breaks support, doesn't hold below it for quite some time, you see some support coming in. This, it may not be the entry to the short side, may be a liquidity grab, and those are mostly common found commonly found, right, in VWAP breaks, right. You see a nice trend, comes back, breaks below VWAP. You kind of see some sellers, but then you see the price action just shoot up, right, and capture that liquidity, trick those people, and into going short, and also kind of stop loss hunting, those people that've been long, and they just had the bad luck of having to stop directly under VWAP, so not bad. Not bad. I'm liking that support that we're seeing right there. Um, Having some trouble getting a little bit above VWAP though, but the buyers, you can say, are in control of the trend. It's kind of funny right now. I'm getting a little bit of a here on my scanner. I'm getting that it's been a lot of bullishness here on Hood. Obviously I think as Bitcoin is pumping, right? But let's see how it's looking on the 5 minute. Absolutely bullish. Nice trend towards upside, above the 50, holding above VWAP. The average buyer is long and is in the money. Making money compared to the shorts. Average short participant here is losing money, which is not so good if you're on the short side. And so I found some resistance here at the previous resistance here, which is R2, pulled back a little bit, found some buyers here, some demand, picking it up. It's kind of trying to challenge these highs, break above, trying to challenge the highs that it formed here intraday, and trying to get above that towards the next area of resistance, where you maybe met to a little bit more of the supply here at the $77 level, which is the next pivot point here in this case. Interesting. Nice momentum. See how coins doing. Coins pumping. Exactly. As long as Bitcoin's up, the rest of them should be up as well. I don't think the miners are going to be up, right? Because I have a lot of downside. It's very hard, especially over the past couple of years, to mine Bitcoin. It's becoming a little bit more expensive to do so. And I mean, it's been reflected here on the financials of the overall miners, right? Bitcoin miners, right? It's been reflected quite heavily in their financials. So it's been not too favored by big money, hedge funds or institutions so far. But yeah, this is not too strong. Looks like it broke below the 50 MA. It's kind of having some trouble, getting above that. So it's not looking too good here for Mara. But yeah, all these other exchanges, Bitcoin exchanges, the primary Bitcoin exchanges, Hood and Coin, are just pumping on. Let's see how MSTR is doing. It's like kind of like a Bitcoin holding, pretty much like a fund, just holding Bitcoin, honestly. And that should I'm actually declining. That's interesting. A little bit of an inverse correlation here. Injury. That's kind of weird. I did not expect that. Probably expected maybe some more bullish momentum there, but looks like we're not seeing that. Let's see. IBIT, obviously going to be up. Yep, it's finding its footing a little bit now. Still above the 50 MA, showing intense buyers here, picking up the price. Let's go back to Tesla, the trade of the day. Yeah, it's still buyers coming in here. Although yeah, just been flagging pretty much in a range throughout the whole day. Check on Palantir. It's like it's having some trouble getting above VWAP. It's finding some supply there at that high. Let's see a little bit more how it develops there, but other than that, it's looking quite well, right? The overall market, check how that's doing. It's finding some support. See these intense wicks, like I said. If we zoom this, a little bit in, generally we should be looking for the longs, right? So it's like the overall triple Q is finding that support, that footing that it needed. It's like intense, lower wicks. Buyers picking it up right there, also right there, and also right there. We like this recent candle that we formed around 905. I really liking that candle, and we're seeing the next candle here. Seeing intense momentum towards upside. So I'm liking this one. Market's looking strong. So not looking short at all. Not looking at any short positions at all. We kind of want to be in confidence with the overall market and where it's going, and it's looking quite strong for today. So other than that, I guess I'll leave it at for today. As always, feel free to subscribe to the channel. Give it a thumbs up. Give it a like to get alerted, and also subscribe to the Uplift Market newsletter. We provide those insights for you guys. That's also AI powered trade. So very important to stay on the lookout, and as well, be on the lookout for the video today coming out at 1. It's going to be a very, very interesting video. We break it down a little bit more. A stock that's also going to be in the makings. We firmly believe that for this week. So apart from that, hope you guys have a very wonderful day, and I'll see you guys tomorrow on the live stream. So take care.